It's a wonderful day to mark. I'm Liz McLaurin. I'm President and CEO of the Land Trust for Tennessee, and I almost can't believe that we're standing here. I almost can't believe we're standing here, but I do believe it given this group that made it all happen, and the Land Trust is honored to be a part, to have played a role in this transaction as a matchmaker. This is a place that Tom and Wendy have owned for 20 years, but as most of you know, Tom and Wendy don't do anything in a passive way. Within 2 years of acquiring this place, Wendy and Tom had it open to the public for public use, managed by TWRA, for things like youth hunts, women's hunts, and wounded warrior hunts. For 18 of the last 20 years, this has been a recreational refuge for thousands of people, thanks to Tom and Wendy's generosity and the great work of TWRA and the relationship that they nurtured together. Fast forward just 2 years, and TWRA, thanks to the Beasley's willingness to sell this place for the public good at a price well below market value, is now owned and managed by TWRA as the Wendy and Tom Beasley Wildlife Outreach and Special Events Center. Thank you, Wendy and Tom, for turning a spark into a fire. You do that well. Of course, a lot happened in those intervening months, and I want to recognize not just Tom and Wendy, but also the Land Trust's Senior Conservation Director, Emily Parrish. Emily, raise your hand. She was the official matchmaker by arranging conversations among Tom and real estate consultant Dan McEwen. Where's Dan? There he is. TWRA's Tim Churchill, many others, and of course, Director Carter. Thanks to each of you for your vision, tenacity, sense of humor, and for letting Emily keep the trains running on time. This is indeed the kind of partnership, success that we at the Land Trust for Tennessee love to come to fruition. And I'm pleased to announce that this project brings our conserved acreage total in partnership with TWRA to nearly 5,000 acres in under 3 months. Thanks to each of you for your success in projects like this and for your continued support. And thank you again, Tom and Wendy. It is now my pleasure and honor to introduce Don and Freddie, who are going to tell us a little bit about this special place and its value.
I think Liz pretty much summed it up. This whole experience is blown away at the generosity of the Beasleys. Over the last 18 years, the thousands of people that we've influenced through our outreach programs, the youth hunts, there's hundreds of kids that have actually gotten their first deer on this piece of property, breaking down the barriers for women through our Outdoor Women program. And also before Wounded Warrior Project was even evolved, Mr. Beasley, being a West Point grad, served in our Vietnam War, approached Freddie and I about doing something for our veterans, our soldiers, which of course we were honored. And out of everything we do, I think I take the most pride on this piece of property, making these events for these soldiers that have done everything for us. So, but anyway, can't thank you enough. We've also got some even grander visions for the future. Hopefully we can pull them off. It's got everything. Kentucky Lake's right down the road. The Buffalo runs through it. Accessible to the interstate. Love to develop it into an education training center in addition to all the outreach that we're doing. And once again, can't thank you all enough.
I've told this many times. I think that it's getting old, but Tom one day said, "Where are all the volunteers staying that come to these hunts and volunteer their time and their effort?" And I said, "Well, they stay at the hotels over here." And he said, "Well, the state has to pay for that." And I said, "Yeah." And that's when he came up with the idea of building us a bunkhouse. And I think the amount was what he had in his pocket that day, but he said, "Could you build one for $15,000? I said, "Well, sure." So that's just the kind of man that he was. He was concerned that the state wasn't able to afford putting up our volunteers in the hotels. But that and his electric bill's soaring every time we had a hunt down here, and he never said a word. But thank you, Tom.
There are so many people that I could start out thinking about. Let me get those two words straight. Thinking about and thinking today, if it's been involved in this project for so long, and obviously Freddie and Don have been involved in it from day one. And I was telling Senator Roberts and Representative Reedy a few minutes ago, which I'm so glad y'all are here. Thank you for making the trip as well. I said, don't tell the building commission this, but Tom gave us some money and our guys just went down there and built it. So, and that's kind of exactly how they've worked on this whole thing. The guys that have farmed this property for so long have been so gracious to allow us to use it. But in reality, about 20 years ago, as they said, we had the opportunity, and Tom said, "Point, y'all use this piece of property," and we really have. There are literally thousands of people who have come through this piece of property, and you already heard some of them, the Wounded Warriors and the Becoming an Outdoor Woman, the youth hunts, and we tried to add up how many thousand people that is, and we don't really know. But in any case, a lot of them, most of them, when they first came here, had no idea about an outdoor adventure or being any part involved in the outdoors at all. This has led into, and I'll claim my daughter-in-law in the same respect. She'd never been hunting in her life and used to make fun of my son and I for hunting. She came to the Becoming an Outdoor Woman, and we created a monster. Our bill at Bass Pro and Cabela's and all the others has gone through the roof since she got into this program, but that's the kind of thing that happens, and that's what we love to see, and the heritage that follows down through that. Tom, I'm going to break off just for a second. When Tom first talked about this property, and I said, Tom, there's no way we can afford that. It's just out of our price range. He said, I could make you a deal. So he said, meet me at Maraboule's. So many Maraboule's later, we ate lunch and talked about this, and thanks to the generosity of him discounting this property so greatly, we were able to pick up this piece of property as to be the vision of what we hope will be an outdoor education center. Freddie and Don mentioned what we had planned for the future, and right now it is just a plan, but just as the bunkhouse took shape, I have every idea that all those guys from TWRA and all the volunteers that are here so often will make it happen. And one of those things, if you have the opportunity, if you haven't seen it yet, the diagrams on the wall over here as you go into where the refreshments were, shows you some of the things. An education center behind us will probably be a shotgun range, a rifle range at a different place, a hunter education facility, all those things that will bring people into the outdoors, and those are the things that we hope will happen. And needless to say, Tom and Wendy could have sold this property to somebody who maybe did not have the same vision or the same love for the outdoors and for those things that they like to know that the jewel of this property is. But they did sell it to us, and as I said, a deeply discounted price, and through the help of the Land Trust, who we've worked with so closely on several projects. But this is one that I really treasure. So thank you all, Liz and Emily and the whole Land Trust crew, for all y'all have done to help us partnership through these. We all know, if you look at the maps that are generated every year on the amount of property that's lost, and I'm not making a statement about development or not development, but it's lost to some other thing other than outdoors or the outdoor legacy. When we lose those kind of properties, I'm thinking my grandkids, and probably for sure my great-grandkids, are going to be really glad that all of y'all participated in making sure that they had a place to recreate and that they had a place to enjoy that legacy like so many of us have. The Buffalo River, as I said, a river runs through it. It really does on this area. The Buffalo River is a state scenic river, and it's absolutely beautiful. Wonderful place to swim, to kayak, to canoe, to fish. So we have future ideas that we'll also put some public access in there if we can get that done. And if we can acquire the right places, I think we will. It'll make it not only a great place for this, but teaching canoeing, kayaking, boating, and all those things that may not be accessible to us right now except off to the side. That will also be a part of this. I know that the Buffalo's kind of been the earmark, Tom, of this whole area. We also call it Buffalo Ridge Wildlife Management Area, or Refuge. So the Buffalo was always going to stay a part of that, from the river and all the other designations. And if you have the opportunity, if you haven't been on the property, if you go around the road to your left, you will see a rather large statue of a buffalo. And first time I saw it, it was just before daylight one morning. I went, good gosh. But anyway, that's another story. But anyway, that buffalo was standing around there to the side, and we thought how apt that we would name this, in addition to Tom and Wendy Outreach Center, also a Buffalo Ridge Refuge. And that's what it's already in our proclamation as, and it's what's in our hunting guides. So Tom, we wanted to do something that we thought you would remember this property through us and what the name was. So we took that statue while you were away and we cleaned it up real good. And we didn't know it was made of 100% cotton, so when we put it in the dryer, it really shrunk. But so this is what it looked like when we got done. But we thought that this would be something that would let you all know how much this place means to us and how much you mean to us for what you've done for all of us. It's very simply worded. This is a Tom and Wendy Beasley Wildlife Outreach and Special Events Center. Thanks to you, future generations will live the legacy. And that's exactly how we feel. So Tom, if you would, Wendy.
Very much for that. I learned a long time ago, I grew up in the 50s. We didn't have any deer, we didn't have any turkeys. My dad was a big hunter. And I figured out somewhere along the way that you don't have wild game. It's not the habitat. The farmers will have some, but if you don't have hunters paying for hunting licenses and having an active political interest in protecting property that encourages and promotes hunting, then you don't have any game. And I think the marriage of the land trust with the TWRA is a marriage made in heaven, because you balance one another. For the critics of those folks who don't think any animal ought to be hunted, you give them cover for that because you are a good green cause. And your audience is different than but you're actually working for exactly the same outcome. Not having the land go into development, having wonderful and beautiful habitat that creates a location that game can be established, protecting this river down here. We couldn't have preserved both sides of this river the way they're going to protect it and the way you're going to protect it if we didn't have all those thousands of people out here hunting. When you guys we all got together and kind of talked about this concept, it was an absolutely perfect public-private continuation of the solution. And I am more thrilled than I can possibly tell you. And I had 1,000 different things I wanted to say, but I guess if I can keep your focus on the importance of having the expansion of programs like this while you can get them. Get them into the land trust. Get them into the TWRA's hands. Get them where they'll be protected forever, because Middle Tennessee is growing really, really fast. But I can tell you, Wendy and I are eternally grateful to have our name attached to this. Our family is very proud to have been a part of it. And we are, you rarely get a win-win. This is a win-win. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'll just leave by saying, Land Trust, thank you all so much. And Tom and Wendy, as you say, we are eternally grateful. And I think those people, generations to come, will always remember where we started today. So thank you all for being here.